So Tonya C. Wilson is from St. Louis, and she has written a book called A Way Out, and it's a memoir, and it talks about her life, the life of a child who saw way too much, way too soon, and it ended up with her being bounced around in foster care, and a lot of people say sometimes foster care isn't what it's cracked up to be. Well, she's going to tell us from her perspective, and she's with us. Tonya, thanks for being with me.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Now, how long did it take you to write the book?
It took me actually about 10 months to write the book.
So it just came spilling out of you, huh?
Well, actually, I've been writing since I was 10, so I had a lot of diaries and a lot of journals to pull from. So when it came time to put everything together, it was a piece of cake, really.
How many have you kept everything since you were 10 years old, as far as diaries and stuff?
Yes, mostly everything.
How many boxes would it fill up?
It was just one tote. I mean, court documents and everything. You wouldn't believe.
Right. So the book talks about how, like, when you were little, you remember your parents splitting up when you were very young.
Yeah.
And you went with your mom, and your mom had a substance problem.
Yes.
And she had a temper problem.
Mm-hmm.
And she took out a lot of frustrations out on you and your siblings. But the impression I got about you is you're a fighter.
Yeah.
And you were a fighter from, if you couldn't fight, you would hide, knowing that if she was going to catch you, that the whooping would be worse, but you did it anyway because you just
I couldn't take the beatings.
Right.
Would run.
Now, there was a time when you guys had all moved in this big house where you were with your cousins and you had a few aunts in the house and your grandma was there. Mm-hmm. And that seemed to be a pretty good time for you.
Yeah, because, I had my family, and it's just different when you have cousins and you have, other people around that you can play with as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
not really paying attention to the adults and what's going on, so family was definitely very important to me when I lived there with my grandmother.
But as much abuse that went on because of your mother's substance problems, why didn't your dad just come get you? He would come and see you. He'd come and get you guys for a while. Why didn't he just have you move into the house with him and Caroline, your stepmom? She was a wonderful woman.
Yeah. Well, we went back and forth there. We spent most of our time with our mother, but we spent a lot of time at his home, too, with her.
Now, there was a time where you were living there, though.
Yeah.
And everything was great. Christmas was great. Valentine's was great. It was just great being there with family who cared about you, who looked out for you. That was something you really were not used to.
Yeah, not at all.
I mean, that's interesting how you had the whole spectrum going because you were living a horrible existence because of your mother's abuse, and then you moved in with your dad and your stepmom, and life was good in an instant.
Yeah. It turned around for me. She really, truly cared about us, and she made sure that my father took care of us and did what he was supposed to do as a dad,
Yeah.
She wanted to step on my mother's toes, but at the same time, she wanted the best for us, and she genuinely cared for us.
She had a talk with your mother.
Yeah. And to get her to try to come and let us come and stay with her for a while, try to help her out, woman to woman.
Right.
I don't imagine what the conversation was about, but my mom, she was a big girl. So.
Yeah. And Caroline, she did the Shirley Brown talk. Only it was about the kids. Now, this story is just so amazing because it was just so much. You were exposed to things that grown people shouldn't be exposed to.
Yeah.
And you were a kid, and it couldn't help but make an impression on you. Couldn't help but form the way you thought as a youngster and stuff. And eventually, Caroline and your dad's marriage ended. Yeah. And you were still invited to stay with Caroline, but she couldn't keep the house. It was just too much.
Yeah.
So you had to go. You had to go back to mom.
Yeah, back to mom.
What was that like? What did that feel like? How old were you when that happened?
Going back there, I think I was about 7 or 8 years old at the time. So it was definitely a rough time for us, you know.
Hmm.
There were times we were in the house with no food. My mom would be out all night in the streets, and we would have to fend for ourselves. My oldest sister, she really looked out for us and made sure that she did the best that she could. She was a
Right.
child herself. So, you know, while my mom was out hanging out in the streets, she was there for us to try to help and take care of us.
But because you guys couldn't get out of the house because you were locked in there, the next door neighbor would feed you through the bars in
Yeah,
the window.
yeah,
Your dad would come over and feed you with bar through the bars in the window because he couldn't get you out because y'all were locked in there.
we're really locked in behind the gate.
Has that made you claustrophobic in your adult life at all?
No.
Good for
That's
you. Good for you. Good for you.
way to conquer.
Yeah. Wow. And then you're back with your mom, and then there's this SOB Sean,
Yeah.
and Sean raped you.
Yes, he did. He
And
was her
how
boyfriend.
old were
And
you?
I was 9 years old when it happened.
I mean, he was doing things, rubbing on your legs. You were froze with fear.
Yes. And
And
I could
he,
remember everything from the event.
and the only thing he could, what he tells you is, "I'm going to make you feel like a woman." You're 9 years old.
Yes. I wanted to show people the sick side, like the mind frame of this person, you know, being that I was only 9 years old, and
Yeah.
then looking at it from a standpoint now, looking back on it. So,
So how long was it before an adult found out?
it took about a month. Actually, you know, in the book I talk about how it all
Hmm.
unfolded. I told my sister, and my sister told my father unwillingly. Like I didn't really want to. I was afraid of what was going to happen, and she went in and told my father, and that's how everything came about. And we ended up living with my father, and then things didn't work out there, and we ended up going into foster care.
Well, you talk about your Aunt Clarissa in North County, St. Louis
Mhm.
County, and
Yes.
you say it was life changing. How so?
Just the experiences that we had. I can actually say that I had a childhood there. I mean, I was in a lot of different programs. I was playing basketball. I was, you know, a part of the African American Role Model Program. I stayed busy. You know, I did well in school. And, you know, what was really life changing was when she decided that she couldn't keep us anymore, and ended up calling, you know, Children's Division to come and get us because she couldn't do it anymore.
Now, how many of us were there?
Me and my older sister.
Okay, there was two of you. So
Hmm.
did they keep y'all together or did they split y'all up?
Me and her, we stayed together pretty much
Hmm.
majority of the time, and you know, she was a little older than me, so she was, you know, eligible to go to different programs that I wasn't, you know, at the time. So we still kept in contact, you know, even if she was around the corner or, you know, whatever the case was at the time, we still were able to keep in contact with each other.
So you're going through all this, and has was faith in your life at that time?
It was, it was, but I really wasn't practicing at the time.
Right, got you. I got you. So how many years were you in foster care?
I was in foster care pretty much from age 14 to 21. I aged out at 21. You know, we went to go live with my aunt, and then we stayed with her for a while until I was 14, and then we ended up going into my first children's home is where I went.
So we're talking with Tonya C. Wilson, and her book is called A Way Out. And it's her memoir of growing up in St. Louis, being exposed to things that you don't want any child to ever see. You don't want most adults to see. It was just a horrible thing, and so the book talks about that, but it also talks about, like in chapter 10 is when you start talking about being on your own.
Mhm.
Now, were you 21 then?
When I first got my apartment, I was, I believe, 19 years old.
19 years old. You had your own space now. Did
Mhm.
you abuse it because you just didn't know any better?
At first, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
But, you know, as time started to move on, I mean, at 21, you're going to age out of care. Then what? You know, so time for me to wake up and figure out, okay, what's my game plan? What am I going to do after age 21?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to start really getting buckled down in school, go ahead and get my education and get a job and, really start to try to, plan out my future.
How would you rank your experience in foster care on a 1 to 5 scale?
With 5 being great?
Yeah.
I would say about a 4.
A 4. So it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't. I don't regret any of it because everything was a lesson for me. Mm-hmm. I learned so much. I went through so much going through the process, but I also learned so much from it. Mm-hmm. It made me who I am today. So it went away.
it was way better than what you had as a kid.
Mm-hmm. I had 3 meals a day. I had a team around me, people that actually took care of me and looked out for me and helped me get my goals together. So.
So how have you? What do you do for a living now?
Now I'm an entrepreneur and I'm right. So.
You're right. Okay. All right. Do you? I'm sure you when you can, you love to mentor young girls. I'm sure you do. I mean, we haven't talked about this, but I'm sure that's got to play a part of your life in some way.
I mean, I actually had the opportunity to work in the field as well. Like right after I aged out, I was able to get a job at a children's home, and I was actually like a mentor. I was taking the youth out, helping them with education, employment goals, advocacy, and just kind of sharing my life story and kind of like guide them in the right way, showing them a different way,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
did have my time to work with them.
Now, let me ask you, how's your relationship with your mother?
It's very, very, very rocky, but, I still keep in contact and I try very hard to maintain my respect for her and,
why is that though? Let me ask you, and I don't know your mother, okay? I don't know her, but I know a lot of people always say that, she's my mother. My father had the same thing with his father. His father was a horrible man, but he was still his father. And I never quite understood that. Is that how you look at it? At the end of the day, she's still my mom?
At the end of the day, she's still my mom, and a lot of people don't have mothers. So,
right. But in a sense, you almost don't, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me ask you, is she still struggling?
Yes, she's still struggling today.
That's too bad. Just too bad. How about your dad?
We keep in contact, very little, but, I still reach out to him and try to, keep in contact with him. But that's as far as it goes.
And I know you're close to your sister.
Yes, very close.
Yeah. How about your little brother?
My little brother, I'm close, but I almost don't really know him. Mm-hmm. I feel like I really don't know him, because we were split up, and he was being raised by my grandmother and my aunts, and then his side of the family took over. So, now as an adult, like he's just a totally different person, so it takes time,
Well, he was born addicted to cocaine, to crack.
Yes.
Man, I do you often wonder why? I don't know how to put this. I mean, do you wonder why God did this to you? No,
not now. As an adult, no.
No.
I'm very thankful for every experience that I had growing up. I've learned something from each experience.
When you were 17, did you wonder why God did this to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I think it's only human to feel that way once you've literally been to hell and back.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and it wasn't anything that you did. It was what you got. It was like you were dragged through a bed of nails and glass, not because you wanted to. It's just because that's the way it turned out. And to me, that's just horrible. Well, what kind of message are you hoping to get through to people with this book?
Most importantly, I want people to know that no matter what you go through in life, like you can find a way out. And, that's what I talk about in the book. After each chapter, I give a food for thought where I give.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
And I want people to learn lessons in their, bad experiences in life. Take it in and look at it a different way. That was the whole point.
I swear, I'm reading some of the book, Tonya, and part of me just I just want to hold you because it's just like, well, you poor baby, and how has this whole experience in your younger years, what you were exposed to, what you went through, how did it affect your relationships with men?
Tremendously, like starting off. In high school, I was like really like not into boys for a long time, not even until like my senior year. I started to really get into boys. Like I wasn't very comfortable at
Mm-hmm.
all. Like don't get too close to me. Don't look at me like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it was very bad. But
Which is that's hard for a young man to do though, because you're an exceptional, beautiful young lady. I mean, you really are, and oh man, I don't know who is the book geared toward. Who are you aiming this book at?
foster care youth,
Mm-hmm.
and people who have just had bad experiences with life, trials and tribulations. Um, you know.
Yeah, that's man. You have been through it. You've come out the other side though. How do you see the rest of your life going?
I see it constantly going. I'm going to constantly grow. I feel like I'm going to always go through something. And, it's just up to me how I come out of it, what I get out of it. So, I mean, I see huge things. I
Right.
have huge dreams and aspirations, things that I want to do. So, I see me accomplishing those things and just not giving up and keep
Ta-
going.
Tonya, do you have children?
Yes, I have 2 boys.
2 boys. Are you overprotective?
Very.
Yeah. Joe, I wonder why, right? Wow. But I'm sure you're a great mom, and at some point, you're gonna have to let them spread their wings. I mean, I have daughters, and it's like, ooh, man. I got one that's getting ready to start college, and it's like, ooh, man. And I told her, I said, if I could take care of you for the rest of your life, I would.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be good for you.
Yeah.
So I think about things like that all the time. Have you had foster children reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the youth that I worked with previously, they still keep in contact with me, constantly. So, yeah.
Oh. Well, the book is called A Way Out. It's her memoir about a young girl from St. Louis who saw too much, and what that did for her, what that did to her, and in a sense, what it did for her. Because I don't know how old you are, but I think that you are probably stronger than most women your age.
Thank you.
So I think that's one of those things. So I wish you much luck. Do you have plans for a second book?
Yes.
Yeah. What's it going to be about? Something the same way, or are you going to go another direction?
I'm kind of playing with everything right now.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I want to kind of show my adult life, my afterlife, after
Right.
foster care too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's great. Tonya C. Wilson. The book is called A Way Out. We'll put a link in the show notes if you want to pick it up, like on Amazon or something like that. We'll do that for you. Tonya, it was a privilege for me to talk to you. God bless you. And I hope that your life turns out to be even better than you wanted it to be. Because if anybody deserves that, it's Tonya C. Wilson.
Thank you.